right, so which do you prefer, playing 4-string or 5-string basses? I'll show you how I actually use 4 and 5-string basses both live and in the studio, and in which circumstances I would reach for one over the other. The link to Jayme's Bass Academy is in the description. Let's talk about 4 strings. Let's start with the obvious. A 4-string bass has one less string than a 5. So what does that actually translate to? Well, it's probably better for beginners. Because there's less notes, easier time muting because there's less strings to mute. It's also going to be lighter weight. The neck profile is going to be smaller. It's just going to be easier to play. Probably. Now, when it comes to the range or the register of a 4-string bass, I think it's perfect for most genres of music. I mean, unless it's rock music and there's a lot of open string riffing, you really don't need that low E most of the time. Oh, I can't ignore it. I open the door up. I go out and I spread the good word. I can get through most songs between fret 3 and 10 on the lowest 2 strings. It's a very powerful register. It's still below everyone else. Sit perfectly against the kick drum because it's not a low F or a low E or anything lower than that, and you can still be very melodic without walking over the lead vocal and some of the other things, and we don't need the 5-string at all for that. But what if you need those low notes? There are genres of music out there that actually live in a lower register, like so if you're playing a 4-string and you need to go lower, you've pretty much only got one option. You got me rocking, you got me rolling, you got me, I can't no one, I can't deny I'm in love with. Tune the bass down and put some thicker strings on it. I use altered tunings all the time in the studio and on stage, but the problem with doing this on stage is now you need multiple instruments. Of course, you always have this option. Everybody get your motherfucking hands up, come with me now, let's go! You always have this option. Try that one at your own risk. But I'm just saying, there are options, and if you're playing a 4 and you run out of room, you can drop tune, you can do altered tunings. It is possible, and you can even do it in real time, but you'll probably screw it up. So that's 4-string basses. Let's talk about 5. Oh, I can shake your ghost. Promise I won't let you go. Promise, promise. Now let's not forget the obvious that a 5-string bass is a 4-string if we just ignore that lower string. So any of the benefits of the 4-string bass, as long as you're comfortable on the instrument, you can still do all that stuff with a 5. The most obvious benefit of the 5-string bass is what I just got done talking about, that extended range of being able to go lower, but also being able to play across the strings more. Rather than traveling up and down the neck, you can leave your hand in one spot, play across the strings. You'll have less shifting to do. Your notes might be more connected and legato. And keep in mind, a 5-string bass doesn't need to tune lower. You can actually tune higher. So I get an extended range in the higher register, which makes it more fun for soloing or playing chords without losing the lower register of the 4-string bass. Now the downsides of a 5-string bass, more strings, therefore more muting. Probably heavier, there's more mass, a wider fingerboard. This might make certain passages harder to execute, certain techniques more difficult. But that doesn't mean anything other than you just need to practice harder, right? Like, there's no like deal breaker here. It just means I need to work on getting outside of my comfort zone. Okay, so now let's talk about when I would plug in a 4-string bass and when I would reach for a 5-string. I'll break these down into different categories and we'll just keep track. Whoever has the highest score at the end is gonna be the winner. So first, let's talk about slap bass. For me, I like to slap on a 4-string because again, the width of that fingerboard is perfect. Now, some people will tell you that the thickness or the width of the fingerboard of a 4-string neck is better than a 5-string, or it sounds better because there's less mass. I'm not a scientist, I don't know if that's true, but I do agree with the outcome. For instance, I don't like slapping on a 5-string bass. It literally just doesn't sound as good to me while I'm playing it. 5-string just sounds too chunky to my ears.
So that makes the money move.
It just feels wrong to me and therefore affects how I feel when I'm playing it. That affects how I actually play, which then affects which instrument I reach for whenever I'm slapping. So if I'm given the option, I always choose to slap on a 4-string bass. But that doesn't mean I can't slap on a 5. It just means it might take me 15 or 20 minutes to get used to it. If I'm playing with a pick, it's also gotta be a 4-string. But also, I suck at playing with a pick. And I was just talking about how it's harder to mute on a 5-string. So I'm already at a disadvantage because I have to use this pick. Now I also have to mute that string with my pick. It's just too much. course, that doesn't mean that I never play a 5-string with a pick. It's just, I'm not as good at it, so I try not to. They tell you never mind the firing line. Now, when it comes to metal, I can honestly go either way. If it's a guitar-led song where I'm just doubling the guitar riff, especially if there's a lot of like open string riffing, then I would prefer a 4-string in an alternate tuning, specifically the same tuning that the guitar is in. But when it comes to progressive metal, I prefer a 5. When it comes to the more progressive stuff, in particular the more difficult music, definitely a 5-string. In general, when I'm playing more complicated music, like not just metal, but jazz, jazz fusion, anything in that vein, I just about always prefer a 5-string bass. I just feel like there's less limits on my creativity when I have more options to choose when the music is really complicated. Now, if I'm playing stripped down acoustic music, I prefer a 4-string bass because we're going for like a more natural, organic sound. And like I was just saying, between frets 3 and 10, that's the sweet spot for the register. We really don't need to go that much lower.
Someone better, worthy of a song. Someone better.
It's going to be more natural and more organic, and it's going to blend with that acoustic vibe better. Playing singer-songwriter or pop music, or especially ballads, I prefer a 5-string, and also I probably want a really smooth, deep, kind of hi-fi tone, which in my mind means active bass. And I already told you, if I'm playing a 5, it's active, so it's like a double whammy. I get both of them. If I'm playing something fingerstyle where I'm really digging in on the strings, I prefer a 4-string. for the same reason I was talking about with slap. The mass ratio of how wide that neck is, how much wood is there, I can't explain it, but it just feels more reactive under my fingers. If I'm playing fast music, I actually prefer a 4-string because I can just play it better. It sounds cleaner. The end result is better. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. In yesterday, I can still rock fast stuff on a 5. It just doesn't sound as good. It's a little more messy. Now in the studio, I end up reaching for a 4-string more often than not. And obviously this is totally dependent on the style of music you play, the production and arrangement of the song, and a whole bunch of other factors. But for the reasons I've already pointed out, I love the range and the register of a 4-string bass. And also in the studio, it's really easy to down tune and drop tune. I could do a new setup, put new strings on. I don't have to worry about getting on and off stage or having multiple instruments. We could take all day if we want to.
I accidentally started playing Michael Bublé.
Do it one more time, but the lick needs to sound like Uncle Frank stumbling down the stairs.
All right, so who's the winner in the battle of the basses? After looking over the scorecard, which is 110% scientific, undoubtedly the winner is the 4-string. Personally, I'm just more comfortable on a 4 than I am with a 5. And oddly enough, I still play 5 strings like at least 40-50% of the time. I sit there, feel a high, it's probably hilarious. You like that don't like my ass, it doesn't make sense. There's only a handful of things that I can't do on one or the other. So they are pretty interchangeable to me, but more often than not, I go for the 4. But in the end, honestly, it really doesn't matter. Don't let my opinions discourage you from yours. Because who cares about any of this stuff? You really shouldn't. It doesn't actually matter. The only thing that does matter is that you go out and make more good music that you like to make, and use whichever tools help you to do that creatively and freely and just to the best of your ability. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.